Now, with the Southwest Division, we'll start with the Dallas Mavericks. As we all know, they won this year's NBA Finals, and we would like to congratulate them again for doing that. The record this year, 57-25, and their draft picks, they have a first-round pick and a second-round pick. In the first round, they have the 26th pick, and in the second round, the 57th pick. Now, their picks, I think a 26th pick in the first round is very good. I mean, they could get
very good for,
winning a championship. Exactly. And they could get something really good in that area. And what they need to find in either the NBA draft or the free agency is a point guard who can finish at the rim instead of spotting up and shooting all the time.
I 100% agree, because they are the kind of team that, takes the outside shot.
Yeah.
And attacks from the outside. Dirk Nowitzki, come on, he's a great big man, but he's a shooter.
Yeah.
You got Jason Terry shooting out there. You got Kidd even shooting out there.
Yeah. And the thing about Jason Kidd, he's also 38. And if they didn't win the finals this year, he was going to retire. So he's either going to retire this upcoming season or the season after that for sure. And they have to look for a replacement for him.
I think Rodrigue Beaubois could be a great player for them. He didn't play too much in the playoffs, but he can drive, he can shoot.
The thing about him, he has to develop a lot.
Yeah, and he got injured. He broke his foot in the beginning of the year, and I think he's going to bounce back next year and have a really great year.
Yeah.
You think he's going to explode?
I think he's going to explode.
Now with their free agents this year, J.J. Barea, Deshaun Stevenson, Caron Butler, and Tyson Chandler.
All very important players.
Yeah, and I would actually like to start off with Caron Butler, because we all know that 3 months before the playoffs, he had an MCL injury, which was a big blow, but no one knew that Shawn Marion could pull off what he did in this year's playoffs.
And we here do hope he gets better and has a full recovery and starts off at the same place he left off next season.
And the thing they have to think of is, are they going to re-sign him? Shawn Marion did have an explosive playoff push, but Caron Butler, I mean, you could bring him back. You can't. It's going to be the team's decision what they see.
I don't think they should bring him back.
Tyson Chandler, the guy who left New Orleans due to that whole foot injury, I think has gotten a lot better from that injury.
He made the Dallas Mavericks offense explode. I mean, without him this year and for the playoffs, they wouldn't have won the finals.
Just being able to catch and go up with it, I think that gave him
ability is huge. And then also J.J. Barea this year. I mean, I think they should bring him back.
They have to bring both J.J. Barea, Tyson Chandler, and another player we haven't talked about, Deshaun Stevenson.
Who's a great defender and shooter.
And he's a tough player, and he gave them that, toughness that they needed.
Yeah. Now, let's move on with to the Houston Rockets, another Texas team. The record this year was 43-39, and unfortunately they did not make the playoffs, of course. But
what do you think is the most important part of the Houston Rockets team?
Well, I mean, Yao Ming of course we all know he hasn't played for 2 years, but I think he is going to come back this year.
I really think that Kevin Martin is the most important player.
Yeah,
and Luis Scola. Those are the only players.
I'm sorry to say this, but I feel like Yao Ming.
I don't think he's ever going to be close to where he was. That injury is a really bad injury.
Not only injuries. He's had many injuries over his...
Yeah. We do hope he recovers, of course, and we actually do hope he plays in the NBA again, because 3 years ago, he was an amazing center.
He gave the Lakers a very hard...
He gave every team a hard time.
And he played through that injury for
Come on, 7'6"?
Yeah.
With that type of shooting?
Now, their draft picks. They have 2 in the first round, 1 being the 14th pick, and 1 being the 23rd.
That's good.
And in the second round, the 38th. Now, in the first round, number 14 and 23, those are very good, very strong positions to get what they need. And what they need is a solid big man that can run the floor, score, rebound, and not get a fatal injury like Yao Ming.
I think Kenneth Faried can be that player. He's a hustle player. He'll go grab those rebounds.
Yeah. And
he's a really tough player, and he did great at
Exactly. And, their center these past 2 years was an undersized center. That's probably the smallest center in the entire league. Chuck Hayes, yeah. And he's a free agent this year. And if Yao Ming does come back, then he and the team are going to need support.
I don't think he's coming back, though.
If he does, then they're going to need support either the draft, which I think they'll get at center, or the free agency. Now, if they want to have a chance at the playoffs again, then this is really what they have to do.
This is a very talented team.
Yeah, they have some pieces, but again, they need another voice, like just like the Clippers. They need someone because Kevin Martin, he's not a vocal kind of guy.
So you're saying they need that superstar? Or
They need a
veteran
veteran.
player.
They need a veteran player who can lead this team to the playoffs.
And one more thing, I think the owners should not have fired Rick Adelman. He's a great coach, and he should have. And I heard it was mutual and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't really think it was mutual. One of them had said they don't want to be there. If it was Rick Adelman, he has his own opinion. But if it was the owners, they made a big mistake.
Yeah,
Isn't it a couple of years back he was the coach of the year?
he
Yeah,
was the coach of the
he
year.
was a great coach. He's a great
His
coach.
offense and defense is unbelievable. Now they're free agents again. Yao Ming, which they could choose to bring back or not. It's going to be risky if they do. They have to see what happens. Chuck Hayes,
Solid center, great
solid
defender.
center. I
He's a
think
good
if
defender.
they do bring him back, but if they get a center in the draft or free agency, then he has to play as a bench and be
bench
the backup. And then Goran Dragic. Now,
I love him.
I love him too. He hasn't played much for the Rockets, so I think they're going to let him go. But he's very talented.
Yeah, I
Very
think he's
talented.
going to want to leave.
When he was in while he was in Phoenix, Steve Nash taught him so much about
Yeah.
basketball. And I think
You know,
that's it for the
having that role model to look up to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I think we're done with the Rockets, and now we're going to move on to the Memphis Grizzlies. First of all, this was a team no one expected to
Make it that far.
make it that
into
far in the playoffs.
They're the
Their record-
underdogs.
They made it
for
to
a long
conference
time, right?
finals.
Their record was 46-36. Unfortunately, they did lose to Oklahoma City in the conference finals, but
semifinals.
semifinals.
Excuse me.
But they beat the number one team in the entire league with the best record, which was the San Antonio Spurs.
I don't think they were the best team, but their
Their
record
was the best.
They were not the best team.
Exactly. Their draft picks this year is the second round, 49th pick.
I think
again, it's not that big. You can't really do much with that, but who knows? This is the NBA draft, and a lot of good things can happen if you choose the right player.
I think one thing they need to do is just keep their whole entire team the same. You cannot ask for more. This team is a veteran team. They have young players,
Exactly, yep.
and Zach Randolph really stepped up, and he really.
And what people don't know is that in the playoffs, Rudy Gay didn't play. Their best player wasn't in the playoffs.
One of their best. I think he comes hand in hand with
Zach
Randolph.
Zach Randolph
Yeah.
and kind
Agreed.
of Mayo.
Mayo? No, not Mayo. Mayo's
He's
very
the most.
talented.
He's a very talented player.
He has to work on his defense, though.
He did great. I really hands down. I was very surprised with OJ Mayo and how he bounced
Yeah.
back from all the things that
This
were going on
Memphis
this year.
team definitely has the potential to actually reach the NBA Finals. I think can reach the NBA Finals
I think not in the next year, but
in a couple years.
in a
probably.
couple of years when Rudy Gay and everyone gets older. But as they get older, that means the rest
Yeah.
of their team also gets older.
Now, what the Grizzlies need. Again, Shane Battier this year is a free agent, and he's probably going to leave the team and join the free agency. And the team is going to need some extra support on the defensive end because all they really have is Tony Allen, who's a great defender but not a great offensive player. And what they need is a great defensive player, which Shane Battier brought. But they also can help Zebo and Gasol down low by spacing out the floor with more three-point shooters. Now, in the draft, not in the draft, the free agency. They must get someone in the free agency who could spread out the floor for everyone, actually. Now, they're free agents this year. Marc Gasol, they have to re-sign him.
Yeah,
It's a
without
must.
a doubt.
Without a doubt. And I think
And
he's
do you
going
think
to...
do you think he wants to stay? I
He
think
wants
after the
to stay.
progress they've made, this
He's gonna-
coach
yeah,
Him and Zach Randolph have a great chemistry.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be a good move if he leaves.
Shane Battier's a free agent. He's probably going to leave.
I hope they sign him. He's a great player.
They're probably going to have to give him a very good offer, though.
Yeah.
And then Sam Young, he's actually very talented.
He's stepped it up
He's
in the
young,
playoffs.
and he's a great bench player.
He's
At times.
underrated.
He's very underrated, but he's very talented. Now, that's it for the Memphis Grizzlies, and now we're going to move on to the New Orleans Hornets. The record this year was 46-36, but lost to the Lakers in the first round. Their draft picks are in the second round. They only have one, the 45th pick. Now, what they need, okay? The Hornets are still wondering whether or not David West can still play, and Emeka Okafor needs to find a way to constantly score points and average a double-double for this team. But what I love, what the Hornets, their owners did, was bring in Monty Williams.
He's a great coach.
He's definitely a great coach, has
He
a
is.
great potential. He's very young and he's a lot to learn, but he brings a lot to this team. And the Hornets can go after free agents like Marc Gasol or Tyson Chandler or even Jason Richardson to enhance their backcourt.
Do you think they're gonna want Tyson back?
Well,
I don't think they're going to be able to get either Marc Gasol and Tyson Chandler.
exactly. It depends on what the players want, the
But they are out there.
offers,
They are out there.
and also money. And yeah. So now free agents this year: David West, Carl Landry, and Marco Bellinelli.
They're in a bit of a hole because Chris Paul can also opt out of his contract and leave. And he requested in the beginning of this year to leave. They didn't trade him, and they can be in big trouble. And they also have to sign David West, who's their go-to player who got injured.
The thing is that, as we all know, David West did get that leg injury, but also Carl Landry is a free agent. So we're at a dilemma where either David West can still perform like he did with Chris Paul, or sign Carl Landry. But there's two different things about them. One, David West is able to shoot, and Carl Landry can't, but Carl Landry is a better finisher around the rim.
I think Monty Williams' offense runs around Chris Paul and a power forward who can shoot, so they have to go for David West.
And again, Marco Bellinelli, a great shooter. I actually think he's going to leave because when he was in the Raptors, he was comfortable because, I mean, around Bargnani, they were great friends, and moving on to the Hornets, I think he's going to leave the team. Now we get on to the other Texas team, the San Antonio Spurs.
You know, sometimes you think, how many Texas teams could there be?
I know, really. Now with the San Antonio Spurs, they had the best record in the NBA this year at 61-21.
Great record.
And they lost in the first round to the Memphis Grizzlies, which is a shock for everyone.
Upset. Big upset.
The draft picks this year are the first. They have one in the first round, which is the 29th pick, and one in the second round, the 59th pick. Now, as we all know, the Spurs are probably the best draft pick, I guess I could call them the best draft pick pickers in the league. They always find that
Diamond in the rough.
Yeah, exactly. They always find that secret sleeper who will always perform.
Jean Blair.
Their best pickup, and I think the best pickup in all of since the NBA was created, was by far Manu Ginobili. He was in the second round in the
57th. I think it was 57th pick.
57, 58, something like that. Yeah. What the Spurs
I
need.
feel bad for the teams before that.
What the Spurs need this year? The Spurs need a major. They need someone very athletic who can.
And a young player because Tim Duncan is getting old. And they don't really have a good center.
Exactly. They need a power forward or center because all they have is really Thiago Spiller, who's
has upside, but I don't think he can be that.
Yeah, Tim Duncan's
NBA
of course
player.
getting older. McDyess, old. DeJuan Blair, very talented player, but I think he should stick at the power forward position. They definitely need a center because the backup another player is Matt Bonner, who just shoots threes really and can't really play. I don't like him as a player that much. Of course, again, Tim Duncan and McDyess are near the end of their NBA careers, so the Spurs are going to have to find that extra player. Now, again, they need help at the 3 spot, someone who can score and play defense, because Richard Jefferson is slacking big time. I mean, he's not.
He did great during the regular season, but in the postseason, he did not perform.
Everyone thought he was going to be huge for the Spurs, but I don't think that's happening. Free agents this year: Tim Duncan and Danny Green. Of course, they're going to resign Tim Duncan.
Because
I mean,
he wants to finish his
boys.
career.
He's the captain of the team, and they're probably going to give him a 1 to 4 year contract, somewhere in there, maybe the 2 years or 3 years. We're going to
2
have to
years,
see what
I
they
think,
do.
would be the best.
And Danny Green, just a solid player, really. He could shoot, he could score a couple
He
points.
can be a good player.
He's a great
Well,
bench
he's
player.
not solid yet. I think he needs to get there. I don't quite want to give him that label yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, he does have the potential. We've seen it in him. And he could pull off that solid player position.
Bench for the bench,
Yeah.
So now we're done